Hello, buddy. Alrighty then. So today is um, Friday, January the 3rd, 2025. So I hope everybody had a good week this year. We had a good first, at least partial week of the new year. Of course, we'll have our first full week coming up next week. So, of course, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, as we wait for people to come in, see if people come in. So today, of course, I was watching some more, golden age cartoons. Going way back. We're working our way to 1932 here. Saw a couple of interesting Flip the Frog cartoons from Ubaya Works and Celebrity Productions, which were distributed, of course, in by MGM before you know Tom and Jerry the Cat and Mouse deal. So yeah, in one short, you had Flip Frog as a fireman, where where even where he they start the short starts off with him and the firehouse horse playing checkers, and the horse not being too thrilled about losing to Flip. And then the other one, he's basically a poor musician, poor street musician, trying to get people to drop coins into his hat or what have you, um, as they walk by. So interesting. In March of 1932, which is what we of course went over. Um, Flip, or actually, I'm sorry. Disney didn't actually put out anything in March of 32, from the looks of it. They neither put out anything for Mickey Mouse or swing or silly symphonies. So that was interesting. The more active people during the month seemed to be Paramount. I think there were like two or three Betty Boop cartoons. As at this point, Betty Boop had started to really cement herself as the star of the Fleischer Studios at that point in 1932. This, of course, is pre-code, right? So pre-Hayes Code. So actually, Walter Lantz didn't put anything out in March. Walter Lantz didn't put out from what I remember, it didn't seem like he put out anything in February or March. So but Columbia put out quite a bit. They put out, of course, a couple of Crazy Cat cartoons, Scrappy. Van Buren was putting out their Tom and Jerry shorts. So some interesting stuff there. So, all right. So now we're coming up on 4 minutes. So I guess it's a good time to talk about what's on tap for tonight. So tonight we will just be focusing in on one story tonight from MeTV Tunes. MeTV Tunes guide to the Smurfs. So we're going to be looking over that. Of course, I'm sure many of you who grew up in the 80s probably remember watching the Smurfs. And of course, you can still see the Smurfs on MeTV Tunes among other places. You know, Cartoon was very popular in the 80s. Kind of, it's like that kind of medieval European feel to it. It's something that gives you something a little different, right? Um, so, um, so you know, so that going to be going over that, of course. We'll have the wrestling wrap up, and we got quite a bit of wrestling news coming up this weekend. We'll go over, of course, last night's TNA Impact and Ring of Honor show. Honor shows. We'll look ahead to tonight's WWE SmackDown. look ahead to this weekend's AEW Collision. Also, some of the AE stars will be involved this weekend in Japan, as New Japan we'll be going over those shows as well. As New Japan has quite a weekend planned out, as tomorrow night they'll be doing the Wrestle Kingdom show, which is their January 4th Tokyo Dome show that they've been doing since 1999, I believe, or 1992 rather. I think it's only been called Wrestle Kingdom since 2007, from what I understand. So let's see. Also, of course, they'll have Wrestle Kingdom tomorrow night. They'll have Wrestle Destiny on Sunday. Again, there will be, I think, some AEW talent involved in Wrestle Destiny as well as Wrestle Kingdom tomorrow night. And then on Monday, New Year's Dash, I believe, which I think is happening here in California. So, we'll look at that, and then, of course, we'll wrap things up with this day in each history. So, again, as I said, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started on the material at hand. I can find it here. All right. Actually, I am going to also go off camera here for a quick moment. I'll be right back. I'll put some music on to entertain you guys while I'm gone. I'll try to... All right, now with all that being done and said, let's go ahead and get started on the material at hand here. BTV Tunes official guide to the Smurfs. Tra la 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 la. Time to learn your Smurfs. Article published today, January 3rd, by BTV Tunes staff. So let's get into this. So we love the Smurfs, but there are just so many Smurfs. In fact, initially they numbered 100 Smurfs at the very beginning of the series, by the way. I think that was even including Smurfette at the very beginning. Truly more Smurfs than you could ever imagine. According to Papa Smurf, there are over 100 Smurfs in the village, but only 44 are named Smurfs on the show. Some Smurfs are main characters who we know and love, and some Smurfs are one-hit wonders who teach us a lesson in an episode, but most importantly, all Smurfs are Smurfy. Yep. Let's see. And as of course I talk about them, if I remember who did the voices of particular Smurfs, I'll point that out as well. Here is our guide to all of the Smurfs you know, such as Papa Smurf and Smurfette, and the Smurfs that might be new to you, like Sassette. Papa Smurf, who of course was voiced in the cartoon by Don Messick, who of course also did Scooby Doo, Astro, and quite a few other Ranger Smith, Boo Boo. So, anyways, Ratchet from G1 Transformers. So Papa Smurf is the leader of the Smurf village. He is a kind, understanding father figure to the Smurfs, and he also dabbles in science and magic. As the eldest of the Smurfs, until Grandpa returns at least, Papa Smurf is the wise figure the Smurfs look to explain the lore and history of the Smurfs' relationship with local humans and magical beings. Like Father Time, Mother Nature, Gargamel, Johann and Pee-wee, to name a few. Let's see. While the Smurfs is very much an ensemble show, Papa Smurf leads the ensemble and is heavily involved in the plot of every episode. Yep, and of course, funny how they use the term ensemble, because Papa Smurf is also the conductor of the Smurf orchestra as well. You see him in this, in a few episodes there. So Smurfette, who was voiced by the late great, and all of, more likely most of these voice actresses that we're going to talk about have passed on. I believe Lucille Bliss, who did voice Smurfette. She might still be with us, but I'm not sure. So Lucille Bliss was the next one who Lucille Bliss, voiced Smurfette back in the 80s there. Smurfette is the first female Smurf, and she was originally created by Gargamel to destroy the Smurfs from the inside. However, with the help of Papa Smurf's magic, Smurfette came good and is a beloved member of the village. Yeah, again, remember this was a kids show, so you almost now, Graham, maybe as adults, as we look back at it, we kind of there is kind of that curiosity. Well, how did you get all these Smurfs, and how exactly did Smurfs procreate? Are they mammals like most like humans? Because they're little blue creatures, which they're Smurfs. They're basically, some people would argue they're humanoid in nature. In other words, they stand on two legs, they walk, they talk, and all that. So obviously the question would be, well, how do they live so long? Because supposedly they have pretty long lifespans, and how exactly do they procreate? Because you do see some form of procreation. It seems to be involved, because you have like baby Smurf, you have the Smurflings, but how exactly, but yet initially Smurfette was like the only, at least we're the only female Smurf we were actually introduced to until Sassette came along. I don't even think there was even a Granny. There, we have Papa Smurf and Grandpa Smurf, but we don't seem to have, you know, Mama Smurf and Nana Smurf, right? Or Mama Smurf and Nanny Smurf. So, um, or Granny Smurf. So, anyways, while she is smart, confident, and strong, she often feels empathy for Gargamel because he is her creator. She absolutely uses her beauty to get things done, and most Smurfs in the village have a crush on her. Considering for much of the series, she's like the only female Smurf. And again, we do see hints at potential romance there, throughout. It's like basically you do get the idea that every other Smurf in the Smurf village pines for Smurfette. So, and most, yeah. Nevertheless, she is a leader in her own right in Smurf Village, and is considered to be the closest to Papa Smurf, which again would probably make a good amount of sense, considering that Papa Smurf was the one who helped her become more, amiable, right? He used his magic to make her more of a true Smurf than what Gargamel had done, right? Brainy Smurf, who was of course voiced by Danny Goldman. This one is probably probably one that a lot of people get annoyed with. So if there ever was a Smurf that struggled with being Smurfy, it's Brainy. While intelligent, Brainy is desperate to be seen and important and to have power within the Smurf community. Anytime Papa Smurf leaves the village, Brainy immediately becomes drunk with power. He imagines himself as a genius, when most of the Smurfs find him pompous and condescending. True, which is often why he ends up on his head and his glasses all like twisted out of shape outside the village each and every time he tries to assert that power, right? Because you know the implication is they either throw him or kick him out of the village, literally throw or literally kick him out of the village, and he lands square on his head, and his glasses get all like twisted out of shape a bit. They never full on break, but he it's a scene that becomes almost a meme at times, right? With Brainy there. Papa Smurf always says, now if you read Brainy's 100 quotations, you'll have a fine day. Let's see. Still, with Clumsy as his best friend, he encounters many opportunities to be humbled and becomes a kinder, more giving Smurf. He is easily recognizable as the only Smurf who wears glasses. Mm-hmm. Harmony Smurf. Now, I don't remember off the top of my head who does Harmony, but Harmony loves music. He just isn't very good at playing it. Mm-hmm. Nevertheless, he practices. He's always going around asking me, "You want to hear my new song? You want to hear my new song? Want to hear my new tune?" Nevertheless, he practices loudly and often, even when other Smurfs beg him to stop. His not great trumpet playing comes in handy as a morning bugle to wake up all the Smurfs every morning. He also has the important role of being the village siren whenever there's danger threatening the Smurfs. Yeah, that trumpet of his really will get you going. For good and for bad, I guess. Right. And again, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, anyways, better try to hurry along here a little bit. And there's like 44 Smurfs get through here. All right, then we have Handy Smurf, who I think they said was voiced by Hamilton Camp, I believe. The Smurf village would be nothing without Handy Smurf, literally. Handy is an extremely capable carpenter, builder, repairman, and even an inventor. Hence the name Handy. He's a handy guy to have around. He is always at the front of fixing whatever is broken or building something new in the village. It's easy to spot Handy in a Smurf lineup because he always has a pencil behind an ear and usually a few tools in his hand. Now, the whole idea of having the pencil in the ear, again, Handy is, as I said, he's the carpenter, builder, repairman, and even inventor of the village. Obviously, in all that, he also would need to be an architect, right? You have to actually draw plans for a lot of their buildings. So that pencil in his ear comes in handy for that. Clumsy Smurf. Clumsy is clumsy. He's tripping or dropping things or not watching where he's going. That's because he's a dreamer with his head in the clouds. Clumsy is always thinking and imagining ways he can help his fellow Smurfs, or even just marveling at his surroundings. Again, don't remember off the top of my head who Clumsy voiced by, but his fellow Smurfs often wish he would stop, or he would snap out of it and focus on putting one foot in front of the other. However, like Shaggy and Scooby on Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, Clumsy's clumsiness sometimes saves the day and helps the Smurfs escape Gargamel. Hefty Smurf. Strong and stubborn, but helpful and caring, it's Hefty. Hefty Smurf. Hefty is the strongest of the Smurfs. But don't be distracted by his muscles. Hefty has a big heart and an innate desire to protect his fellow Smurfs. He is Handy Smurf's best friend, and together they complete most of the construction projects around the village. Yeah, he's the muscle behind Handy's brain, and you can usually, as you see in the picture there, he's got that heart with the arrow in it on his, tattoo on his right shoulder there. Grouchy Smurf. Who has big bushy eyebrows and wrong opinions? It's Grouchy Smurf. Grouchy is a hater, plain and simple. When all the Smurfs love something, Grouchy is quick to remind them that he hates it. Which is another running gag. Supposedly, many years ago, Grouchy was a normal Smurf who got bit by a bizfly, and ever since, he has been so grouchy while scowling at the world he does like Smurfette, who in return tries to include him in community activities even though he hates them. Yeah, like Smurfette's a little social director. Vanity Smurf. Vanity is a Smurf who loves all things beautiful, especially himself. Hence the name Vanity. He's like incredibly vain. He is usually seen with his signature flower in his cap there, and um, mirror, and his home is filled with mirrors. The other Smurfs, I mean, Vanity is a good name for him. Another name might be Narcissistic Smurf, right? Uh, the other Smurfs tend to mock him for being a vain narcissist, but his closest friend is Smurfette, who loves talking about beautiful things, usually flowers, with him. 100th Smurf. 100th Smurf is an ancient clone of Vanity Smurf. Vanity was walking with a large mirror in the ring, and the mirror got struck by lightning. The mirror disappears, and in its place is a Smurf clone of Vanity, who doesn't love having a clone. However, the clone Smurf comes in handy because the Smurfs need to complete the dance of 100 Smurfs to prevent a prophecy of destruction befalling them. And the Smurf clone brought their numbers to 100, which is why they called him 100th Smurf. Greedy Smurf. Now, greedy is apparently a combination is actually the way they, and I think Hamilton Cap did his voice as well. Greedy Smurf is a combination of 2 or 3 Smurfs, from what I understand. Not just Greedy from the comics, but also Chef and Baker Smurf as well. They basically, with Greedy Smurf, they just kind of combine like 2 or 3 Smurfs into one. So, Greedy Smurf is a combination of 3 original comic book characters. Yep, I mentioned Chef Smurf, Baker Smurf, and Greedy Smurf. He is a true gourmand, and does all the cooking in the Smurf village. Greedy's true culinary skills lie in baking and cake decorating. Most episodes featuring Greedy include a big, beautiful cake or pastry creation he is preparing for the Smurfs. While his name is Greedy, he truly serves the village with his culinary creations, and is always sharing with his fellow Smurfs. Yeah, but he often also times you see him also eating a lot of his own creations too. Hence the name. Now, in the comics, from what I understand, Greedy is just that. Chef, Baker, and Greedy are all what they, obviously, everybody, Chef Smurf is the chef, Baker Smurf is the baker, and then Greedy Smurf is Greedy Smurf who just tries to grab everything. Jokey Smurf, who of course is voiced by June Foray, one of her few like male roles. Jokey Smurf. Every class needs a clown, and for the Smurfs, the clown is Jokey Smurf. Jokey loves goofing around and telling jokes, but most of all loves pulling pranks on his fellow Smurfs. Jokey's catchphrase is, "I have a surprise for you," and he gives whatever Smurf he is talking to a rat present that explodes when they open it. Another running gag in the show. Basically giving them bombs. And of course, this is a kid's show, so it's looked at as kind of funny. But most people would think, okay, well, they know that these are likely to be bombs, so why do we keep taking them from him? While his exploding surprises have earned the ire of the other Smurfs, Jokey also used the exploding presents to save the Smurfs from danger on a number of occasions. Yeah, because he's given Gargamel and Scruple a surprise here and there. Baby Smurf, who I was mentioning earlier. All right. Again, if anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, moving on then here. Baby Smurf. One night on a blue moon, the stork delivers Baby Smurf to Smurf Village. He is dropped off in a basket in front of Harmony's house. And the Smurfs naturally were delighted to find him in the morning. All of the Smurfs help take care of Baby, but Papa Smurf is his primary guardian, and his crib and baby items are all at Papa Smurf's house. Well, I mean, again, naturally, Papa Smurf is the father figure of the entire village, so of course he would be the one primarily responsible for taking care of Baby. And the other Smurfs would all act more or less like older brothers and sisters, and taking turns helping to take care of him as well. Baby Smurf remains a baby throughout the series. Tailor Smurf. Some Smurfs' names are just their jobs, like Tailor Smurf, who makes and repairs all of the clothes in the Smurf village. He is well respected and important in the community. Well, yeah, without him, they'd probably be going around naked, right? And granted, I know the censors would have a fit if you had an entire kids show of little blue naked Smurfs running around in it, right? Yeah. So, and he has a soft spot for Smurfette, like all the male Smurfs, who frequently ask for new dresses. The Smurflings. So, now they're focusing in here on the boys. Actually, Sassette is technically a Smurfling too, but they're focusing in on the boys, the male Smurflings, as it were. So in season 5, 3 Smurfs wander into Father Time's clock. The hands go backwards and de-ages them into child Smurfs, or Smurflings. Nat Smurfling loves animals and even helps save Azrael when he's injured. Nat Smurfling was originally Nature Smurf, or Nat Smurf. Again, he's got the kind of the straw hat and the brown overalls and the bare feet, because he's somebody who's in tune with nature. Slouchy is quiet and laid back. He basically slouches, and Snappy is the opposite of Slouchy, energetic and quick to anger, very impatient. The only Smurfling that wasn't de-aged was Sassette. So Sassette, who is voiced by Julie McWhorter Dees, the wife of Rick Dees. Like Smurfette before her, Sassette was created by Gargamel to infiltrate the Smurf village. Unlike Smurfette, Sassette is more of a tomboy. She loves sports and getting dirty and playing with worms. She is curious, talkative, and because Gargamel used a smaller amount of clay to create her, she is smaller and fits right in with the Smurflings. Despite their differences, she and Smurfette have a very close sisterly bond. Again, being the only two, you know, female Smurfs in the village, and the idea of Sassette, if you think about it, she's kind of sassy, right? Being a tomboy, she'd be kind of sassy there. Painter Smurf. The Smurf Village artist extraordinaire. Painter paints, sculpts, and draws all the art in the community. He is easily recognizable in his red artist smock, paintbrush in hand, and exaggerated French accent. Painter is fairly over-dramatic, even for a Smurf, and loudly complains whenever anything goes wrong. Sacre bleu! Sacre bleu! Poet Smurf. Much like Painter covering the visual arts for the Smurfs, Poet covers the written arts. He writes poems, stories, and even plays for the Smurfs to perform in. It just goes to show you that there's a Smurf for just about every possible scenario that you could think of, right? Timid Smurf. Timid Smurf used to be so shy, but then he heard about Poet's play, decided to perform in the play, and did so well that the other Smurfs were asking for his autograph. As I remember, he went from being timid Smurf to actor Smurf. They actually, I believe, during the series, they actually changed his name from timid to actor, as I recall. So, Sloppy Smurf. Guess how he got that name? He's dirty and smelly, and he even has a pet fly that he keeps on a leash. Yeah, he's the Smurf's answer to Pigpen from Peanuts. Timber Smurf. Timber Smurf, also sometimes called Lumberjack Smurf, is the lumberjack of the Smurf village, and look, he is using his axe to make pancakes. Again, kind of like the lumberjacks in the Great North there, before they head out in the Dreamy Smurf. Dreamy is the daydreamer of the Smurfs, and he dreams of being the first Smurf in space. While the Smurfs do not yet have the technology, they made him a nice rocket ship and spacesuit. Episodes around Dreamy usually have to do with the Smurfs trying to help his dream come true, even if that involves giving him a sleeping potion, so he just dreams that it came true. Grandpa Smurf, who of course Jonathan Winters provided the voice of Grandpa Smurf. Jonathan Winters, that of course was not his first foray into cartoons. Also voiced himself in the new Scooby-Doo mystery or new Scooby-Doo movies back in the 70s as well. So, and if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, as we now move on and talk a little bit about Grandpa Smurf here, Grandpa Smurf was Papa Smurf's Papa Smurf. But he left the Smurf village. He went on a 500-year journey around the world. So wondering how old these Smurfs really do, how these Smurfs age and stuff. That's searching for rare elements. Upon returning, Grandpa Smurf takes on an elder role in the community and enjoys telling stories to the young Smurflings. Yeah, he's Grandpa after all. He's the elder. When Papa Smurf is busy, they go to Grandpa to get advice from. Okay, so I was actually wrong. There actually was a Nanny Smurf. All right, I'm correct. I'm corrected there. Nanny Smurf. When Grandpa Smurf was off on his journey, Nanny Smurf was imprisoned in a disappearing castle. When the castle eventually reappeared, Grandpa Smurf and the other Smurfs saved her and her little pet Smoogle. It has been implied that Nanny Smurf and Grandpa Smurf were in a relationship at some point, but in the Smurf village, they are just friends. Well, and again, naturally, of course, being a kids' cartoon, they're not going to really emphasize, even for the sake of kind of giving us the idea of how Smurfs might procreate. It's still a kids' cartoon, so which is kind of a good thing. Wild Smurf. Unlike the other Smurfs, Wild was raised outside the village by a family of squirrels, which is why he is a little different. He cannot speak. He communicates with squirrel noises and hand signals. He is kind of like a Tarzan for the Smurfs, and he lives in a tree house outside the village. While Brainy Smurf tries many times to tame Wild, most of the Smurfs accept him and like him as he is. Or, well, tame him, or another term might be civilize him. Tries to civilize him. Reporter Smurf. Reporter Smurf, probably the news hound of the Smurfs, right? Fun fact, Reporter Smurf is called Nosy Smurf in the comic book. Reporter Smurf runs a newspaper where he majorly exaggerates stories about his fellow Smurfs, but he later changes to focus less on the Smurfs, more on spying and reporting on Gargamel, which the Smurfs appreciated more. Yeah, that's a good way to use Editor Smurf. Not much is known about Editor Smurf except he delivers all the newspapers for Reporter Smurf. Dabbler Smurf. Dabbler dabbles in a little bit of everything. Jack of all trades, like master of none, I guess. But then one day he decides to dabble in being a doctor, and his lack of knowledge creates a mini epidemic and nearly destroys Smurf Village. Luckily, by the time Papa Smurf returns, Dabbler gives up being a doctor and moves on to dabble in another profession. Lazy Smurf. The one who's always fallen asleep. In the Smurf village, everyone generally works hard and pulls their weight, except for Lazy Smurf, who tries as he might, is just inconsolably lazy. All Lazy wants to do is sleep. So when it's time to work, he is often paired with Hefty, who is more than willing to wake him up and tell him to get back to work. Lazy's loud snoring once saved the Smurfs from being attacked by underground monsters. Flighty Smurf. Flighty Smurf, constantly paralyzed by decision making. He is easily distracted, forgetful, and has a hard time making decisions for himself. Being kind of flighty. Somebody Smurf. Originally, his name was Nobody Smurf. Nobody Smurf looks like every other Smurf, and that's exactly his problem. He was sad, and he didn't have a special skill or identity like the other Smurfs. He suffered from low self-esteem until he saved the other Smurfs from goblins. That day, Papa Smurf told him that he wasn't a nobody, he was a somebody. So another Smurf who had his name changed. Tracker Smurf. And you see the feather in his cap there. So a true outdoorsman, Smurf, Tracker is in tune with nature, just like Nat Smurf and Nat Smurfling. Through his super sense of smell, he can smell everything that's going on, from humans and animals nearby to upcoming weather patterns. He always has a red feather in his hat, and his main job in the village is using his senses of smell to forage wild foods in the forest, like mushrooms and truffles. All right, so Sweepy Smurf. Very clearly inspired by Dick Van Dyke, Sweepy Smurf is a Cockney chimney sweep. These are the people who go through and sweep people's chimneys, basically. I think it's more common in England, than anything else. Um, see, he usually doesn't tell the other Smurfs when he is cleaning their chimneys, so his visits usually cover everything and everyone in spot. Tuffy Smurf. Tuffy is strong and tough, like Hefty, and in fact, his greatest desire is to be like Hefty. The main difference between the two is that Tuffy is reckless and doesn't think ahead if his actions will endanger the other Smurfs. Tuffy's main focus is to be strong and tough. Hefty's main focus is to help and keep everyone safe. Woolly Smurf. Woolly is an interesting character because he shears the sheep and spins their wool into yarn. He shears full-sized sheep and leaves a basket of Smurfberries for the local shepherds as payment for the wool. Woolly also speaks like a Texan with a Texan accent. He also is one of the few characters who is original to the cartoon and didn't previously appear in the comics. Farmer Smurf. And the thing is here, though, with Farmer Smurf, it looks like they have more of a picture of Nat Smurfling. Farmer Smurf is responsible for all the agricultural activities of Smurf Village. He has an unconventional approach to talking to his crops in an encouraging way, so they'll grow better. As a provider in the community, he is a friend to all Smurfs, often the first to raise alert if someone is missing or in danger. The only thing is they don't have the picture of that's not Farmer Smurf right there, though. That's Nat Smurfling. Weakling Smurf. Weakling Smurf is physically weak, but he continues trying to carry his weight. He can't even open a jar. But Hefty respects his hustle, encourages him to keep trying. Hefty's encouragement pays off, and Weakling wins a prize at the Smurf Olympics and even ends up becoming stronger than Tuffy. Wow. Architect Smurf. Architect is the architect of all the houses and buildings in Smurf Village. He and Handy try to build a skyscraper, but it burns down. Minor Smurf. Minor Smurf has an Irish accent and works in the mines. He has a little candle on top of his hat to serve as a headlamp. Now that's got to be something there. You got a candle that's burning on top of your hat. Whatever material the Smurf's hat is made of, got to be pretty strong to be able to handle something like that, right? In the cartoon, he works alone mining resources for Smurf Village, but in the comic books, his best Smurf friend, archaeologist Smurf, works side by side with him. Then we get to Scaredy Smurf. And we're almost done here. There are like 44 that they were pointing out here. So, Scaredy Smurf. Scaredy is easily scared and always nervous, but sometimes his hyper-vigilant fear helps the Smurf identify a threat. In parentheses there, in one instance, a giant bird pecking at houses in the village, unquote, before it becomes serious. Before it becomes serious. Marco Smurf. A play on Marco Polo, Marco Smurf is an adventurous Smurf who goes on nautical expeditions. He has fought pirates, discovered islands, and loves to tell the Smurfs back home about it. And see him got kind of his hat's kind of shaped in more like a sailor's, or like a pirate's hat or something like that. Even though he's not a pirate, but a seaman's hat. Sickly Smurf. Sickly, sometimes referred to as Sneezy, is always sick and suffering from allergies. He is easily identified from his earmuffs, scarf, and constant sneezing. Pushover Smurf. Another Smurf who I think went through kind of an identity change as well in the show. Pushover appears in the episode The Smurf Who Couldn't Say No, where the Smurfs use his inability to say no to get him to do all of the work setting up the Firefly Festival. By the time of the festival, Pushover was too exhausted to enjoy the festival, and his lesson was to not be such a pushover. And then I think the last one here, Weepy Smurf. Last Smurf, Weepy Smurf, is very sensitive and cries a lot because his greatest fear is letting the other Smurfs down. But in the few episodes he appears in, Weepy teaches the more macho Smurfs, like Hefty, the important lesson that even tough Smurfs cry. Sometimes, and that's okay. So quite a, one of the other things I recently heard too, when I was looking up some information on the Smurfs here recently, is that there was actually kind of a bit of a issue with the Smurfs at times back in the 80s, because there were some people who thought that the Smurfs were communist. Now, granted, it might. I mean, the idea of communal living and all that, and you know, daily, but but at a local level, communism may not be so bad. When it becomes a government thing, then that's a problem. You know, but anyways, so now that we got all that taken care of, so let's move on to the wrestling wrap up. As we're gonna first off go back to last night, as we do have we of course have a couple of things to look at. First off, we're gonna go over what happened on last night's TNA Impact, which came from last night's Impact came from Center Stage in Atlanta, Georgia. As the opening match saw Ryan Nemeth defeat Rhino by disqualification. Ace Austin defeated Kushida. And the main event, and an 8-woman tag team match, saw TNA Knockout champion Masha Slamovich, 3-time TNA Knockout champion Jordan Grace, and current Knockouts tag team champion Spitfire defeat the team of Ash and Heather by Elegance, Rosemary, and Tasha Steelz. After the match, as I understand it, Tessa Blanchard attacked Jordan Grace, setting up a possible match at Genesis in a couple weeks here. So, as it would appear that that Jordan Grace's contract is coming up with TNA soon, and there's been a lot of talk that WWE is interested in having her go there. So they'll be looking back on that. Now let's look back on let's talk a little bit about last night's Ring of Honor show. And they get there. Of course, on last night's Ring of Honor show, which came from the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York, opening match saw Red Velvet retain the Ring of Honor Women's World Television Ring of Honor Women's World Television title over Hanako. Action Andretti and Leo Rush, as they continue to build their momentum towards their upcoming World Tag Title shot, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a moment here. They defeated Homicide, the Rottweilers of Homicide and Rocky Romero. Harley Cameron defeated Ashley Vox in just over 5 minutes. In an 8-man tag match, Shane Taylor Promotions of Pure Champion Lee Moriarty, Shane Taylor, and the Infantry of Carly Bravo and Sean Dean defeated the 4 men of the Iron Savages, Beefcake Boulder, and Bolt Bronson, and Alex Reynolds and Evil Uno of Dark Order. And then let's see. Then they had a couple of flashback matches. Well, had one flashback match in which, going back to Athena defeating Willow Nightingale by referee's decision, retaining the back from July of 2023. And in the main event, saw Commander retain the Ring of Honor World Television title, or actually, he kept QT Marshall from getting a shot at it as it went to a time limit draw. So they had a proving ground match for QT Marshall to possibly earn a shot at Commander if he could defeat him in the match, but QT Marshall came up a bit short. So now, after all that, let's go and talk a little bit about what's going to be going on tonight's Friday Night SmackDown. As on tonight's Friday Night SmackDown, as soon as I get there and get to the thing here. Of course, this is the first SmackDown of 2025. Let's see. Having tonight on the USA Network. Corey Graves and Michael Cole doing in a non-title match. United States champion Shinsuke Nakamura takes on Andrade. Michin takes on Piper Niven with Chelsea Green in her corner. And there's been some talk that they may be signing Chelsea Green's first major title defense as the newly crowned women's United States champion by, with her, having a rematch from the tournament finals against Michin at on January 25th at the next Saturday night's main event program. DIY of Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano defend the WWE Tag Team titles against Motor City Machine Guns, a team that they beat of Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. Nia Jax defends the women's title against Naomi. And in a six-man tag, the Usos and Sami Zayn of the original Bloodline take on the threesome from the current Bloodline of Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, and Tama Tonga. So now we're going to look ahead to tomorrow night now that we've done all that. As tomorrow night's Collision, then we'll go over to New Japan. On to tomorrow night's Collision, which will be live in the Bojangles Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. Jeff Jarrett, after announcing on Dynamite the other day that he had signed his last talent contract, as he plans on finishing up his career in AEW and will even be going after the world title shot in his final year here. Will be taking on a mystery opponent on tomorrow night's Collision. Tony Storm takes on Deonna Purrazzo. As we had kind of alluded to earlier, current AEW World Tag Team Champions Private Party of Quinn and Zay will be taking on Action Andretti and Leo Rush, who won the right to challenge them a few weeks ago back on an episode of Dynamite, I believe, in defeating Top Flight, and I can't remember the other team's name off the top of my head, but it was a triple threat match. Daniel Garcia defends the TNT title against Mark Briscoe. And the main event will see the learning tree of Chris Jericho, Big Bill, and Brian Keith taking on Rated FTR of Cope and FTR, of course, of Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler. Rated FTR coming off of their victory on Dynamite on Wednesday. Look to continue building momentum. Potentially either maybe the three of them going after the AEW World Trios titles held by the Death Riders members of Claudio Castagnoli, Pac, and Will Yuta, or even with Cope possibly taking on John Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Of course, this coming Wednesday on Dynamite, they will be having a Casino Gauntlet match to determine who the next challenger to seeing who the next challenger in that to John Moxley's title will be. Of course, Jay White having won the triple threat match to ensure himself of the number one spot, obviously is involved in the match. I think Swerve Strickland and who's the other one in the match? And Roderick Strong are also confirmed for the match. I think Powerhouse Hobbs. So we'll wait and see who's all in there. Now, as I understand it, a Casino Gauntlet match is similar to a Royal Rumble in terms of the fact that that contestants, you start out with two and people come in, one at a time. But instead of it being kind of a battle royal situation, you basically keep wrestling, you keep fighting until somebody gets pinned or submits. So the match ends with the first pinfall or submission. So, and people just keep coming in until either that or they'll keep coming in until that happens, depending. Now, with all that being said, of course, now let me talk a little bit about what's coming up in New Japan this weekend, as they've got quite a big weekend themselves coming up here. New Japan Pro Wrestling. They've got three big shows in a row here. Wrestle Kingdom tomorrow night. Wrestle Destiny on Sunday. And then Wrestle Destiny on Sunday, and then I believe it's New Year's Dash. New Year's Dash on New Year's Dash on Monday. So for tomorrow night's Wrestle Kingdom 19. Now, granted, this show is being held at the Tokyo Dome. New Japan's had a show, even though it's been under the Wrestle Kingdom name since 2007, hence, why it's called Wrestle Kingdom 19. The show itself has been around for even longer than that, going all the way back to like 1992. Went through a set of different names before settling on Wrestle Kingdom. On the pre-show, there'll be a number one contenders match, a New Japan Rambo match for the number one contendership to the World Heavyweight title. Let's see. On the show, in a ladder match, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag titles will be defended in a ladder match as the current champions, the Intergalactic Jet Setters of Kevin Knight and Kushida, will be taking on Catch 22, Francisco Akira and TJP, Ichiban Sweet Boys. Okay, so Akira and TJP, I believe, are part of United Empire, I believe. I'm not completely sure, but Ichiban Sweet Boys of Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita, who I do know are part of TMDK, and then Bullet Club War Dogs of Clark Connors and Drilla Mahoney. Mayu Iwatani defends the IWGP Women's title against Azumi. Azumi coming in from Stardom, I believe, which is another organization that has a talent exchange going on with AEW. In a four-way match for the New Japan World Television title, Ren Narita will defend against El Phantasmo, Jeff Cobb of United Empire, and Ryohei Oiwa of The Mighty Don't Kneel. In a lumberjack match, Hiroshi Tanahashi takes on Evil from the House of Torture. In a in a match in which both the AEW International and Never Openweight titles are both on the line. Never Openweight champion Shingo Takagi takes on AEW International champion Konosuke Takeshita. As I was mentioning, AEW talents will be involved in these shows this weekend as well. And I think for Wrestle Destiny, I think also have Ring of Honor and CMLL also involved. Doki defends the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title against El Desperado. David Finlay defends the Global Heavyweight title against Yota Tsuji. Former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Tetsuya Naya takes on Hiromu Takahashi. And then the main event of Wrestle Kingdom, Zack Sabre Jr. defends the IWGP World Heavyweight title against Shota Umino. So that's all happening on tomorrow night's Wrestle Kingdom from the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, Japan. And then the following on Sunday, again from the Tokyo Dome, in a joint venture with, of course, AEW and CMLL and Ring of Honor, New Japan will be hosting Wrestle Destiny. Some of the matches there'll be a Lucha Gauntlet match, but we don't know participants in that yet. In a match in which the qualifiers played out in their respective companies, in the International Women's Cup final four-way match, Ring of Honor World Women's Champion representing Ring of Honor Athena will be taking on New Japan's representative Momo Watanabe. Will Nightingale, who defeated Jamie Hayter in the finals for the AEW qualifier, representing AEW, and then Persephone coming in from representing CMLL. In a match for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles at Wrestle Destiny, the Sons of Texas, Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes, will be defending the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles against the House of Torture duo of Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Sho. Tomohiro Ishii will be going after the Never Openweight title. He'll obviously be taking on the winner of the match between Konosuke Takeshita and Shingo Takagi on the previous night's card. Then for the vacant IWGP Tag Team titles, the Young Bucks will be taking on Great Khan and a mystery partner, Great Khan of Empire fame, and of course the Young Bucks from AEW. And then in another title versus title match, Mercedes Moné, as she said, will be looking for more gold, as she'll be defending her New Japan Strong Women's title against Mina Shirakawa, who will be defending her Rev Pro Undisputed British Women's title. We'll see who comes out of that. In a non-title match, IWGP World Global Champion David Finlay takes on AEW's Brody King. Now, of course, Mercedes Moné and Mina Shirakawa are both AEW talents, as we said. Young Bucks, AEW, Sons of Texas, Ring of Honor. So, like I said, a lot of talent from outside. Jack Perry takes on Yota Tsuji. Ricochet will be taking on Zack Sabre Jr. Claudio Castagnoli will be taking on Shota Umino. Now, I don't know if the title will be on the line. And then Kenny Omega is set to take on Gabe Kidd. So that's all on Sunday. Now we move forward to Monday, New Year's New Year's Dash, which actually is coming from Tokyo, Japan. I do know that, and no matches have been announced for that one as of yet from the Oda City General Gymnasium. So that's all. That's all that's going down. That's all that we have for you on the wrestling wrap up. So now, quite a bit of stuff tonight, though, that we went through. So now, with all that being said, let's now move ahead. So today being Friday, January 3rd, 2025, let's take a look back at this day in Niche history. History! So let me just remind myself of a few things here. Okay. So, first off, we're going to head back 60 years ago today. And on this date, 60 years ago today, 60 years ago today, Pat Patterson defeated Pepper Martin in Eugene, Oregon to become the NWA Pacific Northwest Heavyweight Champion. So, about 5 years before heading over to WWE, Pat Patterson was in the Pacific Northwest territory of the National Wrestling Alliance, and at that time he defeated Pepper Martin to become the NWA Pacific Northwest Heavyweight Champion. So that happened 60 years ago today. On hello, Creso. Welcome to the screen. I hope you're enjoying the show thus far. If anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. If you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people here to engage. That would be appreciated as well. So with that, I'll continue on here then. All right. So, anyways, as we now continue to move on here with the this day in each history. Also, 1965 is just so nice. We're gonna hit it twice. It's also on this date in 1965 over in Japan. Mushi Productions' New Treasure Island, one shot TV special premiered on Japanese television on this date back in for 60 years ago today. Mushi Productions' New Treasure Island TV special premiered on Japanese television on this date back in it premiered on Fuji TV in Japan on this date back in 1965. So now moving on to 1975, I actually would like to wish a happy birthday to two individuals. And I'd like to wish a happy 50th birthday to Jason Marsden and Danica McKellar. Jason Marsden, of course, actor and voice actor. Of course, his live action, probably one of his more well-known roles was as Eric Matthews' best friend on Boy Meets World, but he also among some of the voices he's done. Let's see. I believe he was a younger Clark Kent in Superman. And he's Richie Foley, Gear, and Edwin Alva Jr. in Static Shock, Billy Numerous and Teen Titans, Snapper in Justice League, Danger Duck and Lunatics Unleashed, Firefly and the Batman. So he's lent his voice, or Teenage Clark Kent there. Okay, that's so he's basically lent his voice to a number of different characters. And Danica McKellar as well, of course, known live action wise, known for a role of Winnie Cooper on The Wonder Years. But in terms of her voice acting work, including she was Miss Martian in Young Justice, Frida Gorin in Static Shock, Frost in DC Superheroes, and she was Judy Jetson in the Jetsons and WWE Robo WrestleMania. So happy 50th birthday to both Jason Marsden and Danica McKellar. And as we move on, and our last stop, 1985, 40 years ago today. On this date, 40 years ago today. On this date, 40 years ago today. The first issue of Crisis on Infinite Earths from DC Comics went on sale on this date back 40 years ago today. So probably considered one of the most pivotal storylines in all of comicdom was when DC, of course, tried to basically merge all their multiverses into one universe. The first issue of Crisis on Infinite Earths went on sale on this date back in 1985, 40 years ago today. Sold for 75 cents. There's 32 pages. Titled The Summoning, was part of the crossover event Crisis on Infinite Earth. Written by Marv Wolfman. Plotted by Len Wein, Robert Greenberger. Penciled by George Perez. Inked by Dick Giordano. Lettered by John Costanza. And Anthony Tolan did the coloring. So 40 years ago today, the first issue of Crisis on Infinite Earths went on sale on this date back in 1985. So with that, I know we went kind of long tonight. With that, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here on Sunday. RJ Carter from Critical Blast will be joining me as we'll be taking another trip down comic history lane. We'll be taking another trip, as I said, we'll be taking another trip down comic history lane. We'll be looking back to comics went on sale in April of 1940 from Fox Feature Syndicate. Will be, of course, among the features we'll be reading will include, of course, Blue Beetle, Fox's version of Thor, Dynamo. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here on Sunday. Bye.